I'd like to do that. I will not, I was going to be gone that weekend anyway because of my anniversary. So, anyway, if you want to get that information, if you have any questions, Vanessa, I was going to have her talk about it because she's the one that sent this to me. And she's not going to be here tonight, so anyway, so yes.
I just clapped a moment ago when you said you're not gonna be here, and I got to thinking, oh my, I was clapping because it's on your anniversary. I thought that was really sweet, you know. And then I got to thinking, I didn't want it to sound like I was clapping because
I took it positively.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just felt really bad after I was like, oh no.
I took it positively.
Yeah, that-
And seriously, that's the way I read it. But yes, it'll be, it will be our, I think 52nd. I think 52nd.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We got married in 73. Yeah, it'd be 52nd. So anyway, we'll be off and then we'll talk more about this next week.
Where is that in Baxter Springs?
It's on the sheet there. It's at Park and it's at,
Oh,
you'd have to look up the park. And I remember looking it up, but I don't remember if I don't remember. I mean, I know a little bit about Baxter, but I don't remember where it's at, so. But, so, anyway, it's gonna start at 2. I didn't see any ending time on it. They're gonna be pickleball. Did we get it back live?
yeah.
So are we live now? So anyway, that's going on there at Baxter. There's a tournament of pickleball, but there will be a $30 donation per team, a two-man or two-person team, and they have first-time pickleball players. I think it's, if I remember correctly, it was if you played less than 3 times and more than 3 times is the professional players or experienced players. And so anyway, there will be a team event there. And so, and there's other things. I'm trying to look on here real quick, see. I just assumed that Vanessa would give the rundown, but I don't see where it's got cornhole tournament, pickleball tournament, family activities. There's going to be some testimonies, food, live music, car show, and so that will be on Saturday, September the 20th, starting at 2 p.m. And the sheets are back there. How about that? Anything else? So we're live now, and so welcome. Did you see that we were live?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to everyone out on the internet, and of course our band's not here tonight. Well, you wouldn't have known that unless you. Sometimes they're back here when I get started. So anyway, they're not here tonight, so it's just me and the other speaker. So hey, all right, let's go. So tonight we're going to be talking about step 9. Step 9, of course, is the 9th month, September, and so we do the step that that correlates with the month. And so step 9 is we made a decision we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. So that's what we're going to be talking about. I think this is going to be a very important topic tonight. The topic is a servant's heart, and we'll be talking about that in a moment. That's out of 1 Peter 2:18 through 28. Did you get my second message about reading those scriptures?
Yes.
I want to go through what's in the book and then go back and do what's in the Bible. Okay, so, okay, well, let's ask the question here. Oh, by the way, I made a fact sheet back there on the same table with about amends. What does amends mean? And as I was preparing this week on this, I thought I need to just make up some information there. So let's start off with talking about amends. What does that mean?
To change.
Well, it would produce a change, yes.
Um,
Yes,
Means to make things right,
yes,
repair the damage
Yes.
caused.
yes, yes. Or try to repair the damage. I like some of the stuff I read in that information was they made a statement there about try. I mean, there's some stuff you can't fix, but you can try, right? And the main thing is, it's a shift in our attitude, that we're taking responsibility for our past behaviors and we're trying to make a change. And in doing that in honesty, that means we have that change, like you were talking about. So, and connected with step 9, it talks about that it affects our attitude and also our heart, okay? And that we're doing something with action, not just with words. And this information several times, I'd like for you, I encourage you to get it and read it. But it's making amends is more than words, it's actions. Of course, you need to have some words there, but action, it's evident that there isn't any transformation if there isn't any action. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes.
That's my synopsis of that information. So now you can do actions and your heart not be in it, so your heart needs to be in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments on that?
Well, words are communication, and so I'm not sure, well, I think actions, actions speak louder than words. So I think actions is communication.
It absolutely. But the third part of that is that we have to have a right motive, right heart.
Absolutely.
You can pretend, okay, you can go through the motions, but it may not be sincere. And for it to be effective, yes, you need to say the words, yes, you need to have actions, but it needs to be with the right heart or the right motivation, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely, in my opinion as well.
Okay, so let's go with what does servant heart mean? And of course, I have it on that sheet back there also. So, yes, sir?
A servant's heart describes an attitude and way of living where a person willingly And is a way of living where a person willingly serves others out of love.
Stop right there. That's just what I was talking about. Willingly serves, because that would have to do with the right heart. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Tommy. Willingly serves others.
Out of love, humility, and compassion, rather than for recognition, control, or personal gain.
I think at the end of that sentence is pretty good. Rather than for recognition, okay, because then we're pretending to try to get something out of doing this. Control, trying to manipulate somebody, right? You know what I'm talking about? Or personal gain, to shift my position because I'm pretending to be something that I'm not. I'm a pretender, a poser. Okay, so let's do it with the right, sincere heart. And so that's what the servant heart's talking about here. Of course, I have multiple things here about servant's heart. A servant's heart is humble, yes. It's not selfish or vain ambition. And so a servant heart is willing, correct? Willing. So that goes to the intent. Servant's heart brings healing, not harm. So if we're out to make amends and it does harm, then are you really making amends? Right?
That makes them, that requires some wise decisions.
Yes, yeah. And it can't be focused on our selfish intent to try to make things right, which would shift my position or try to control a situation. And so what it does is I'm taking responsibility to make amends, but it may be more difficult, and maybe I have to find a creative way of doing it instead of just using words. What do you think? And a servant's heart reflects Christ, because Christ was a servant. He came to serve, not to be served, according to the scriptures. So what does a servant heart connected with step 9? How does it connect? In fact, actually, I just read all that, which it does connect it with step 9, because that's what the sheet here says. So, but then below that on my sheet, I went on and asked, what about a servant's heart, the scripture, which is 1 Peter 2:18 and through 25 mean, and I have a breakdown of that scripture. It's enduring unjust treatment with grace. Has anybody ever had to do any of that? Had a little chuckle there. Has anybody ever had to endure any of that? No, you don't have to say that. Serving with humility. I wonder what that looks like. Anybody got any idea what that looks like? Can you imagine what that would look like? Yes, sir.
I think it means, even if it's difficult, if we're serving others, it's worth it. We need to realize that we need to realize in humility that if we are really wanting to be like Christ, then we have to be a servant, even if it's difficult. Jesus told us it wasn't going to be easy to follow him. It's going to be like carrying your own cross. It's going to be a burden at times, but it has to be done if we really want to be like Christ.
Yeah, but most of us don't want to be a servant. We want to be served. What do we do about that?
Then we need to check our attitude.
Well, I'm glad you said that. But isn't that true? And so, could that be a real indicator, something about our attitude and our heart? What do you think about that? Did you catch the question? Yes.
And there's just a thought that I have that I think it would be relevant, and that is service, humility. So what I'm thinking is when you genuinely listen to someone, sometimes when two people are trying to solve, and apologize, you can see one of the person, they're not listening because you can see they're thinking about what they're going to say, to make their point. So I don't know, that's just it's kind of a vision I have as an act, is when you can tell that the other person is genuinely listening to what you're saying and not trying to,
Yes, and in this information, I don't remember exactly where it's at, it basically, that is one of the things that you listen to people, And we forget that listening is a power.
Oh,
It's a healing power.
yeah.
And that's so important. And that would be, listening is a gesture of love. And I think to do it properly, you would have to operate in humility. So anyway, just my thoughts on that. Well, number 3, it says, trusting God as a true judge. Now, that is a tickly subject for us, you know, we'd prefer to go ahead and operate off of our judgment a lot of the times. You know what I'm talking about? Does that make sense? And so to trust God to operate as the true judge, sometimes we'd rather keep it in our own hands instead of putting it in His hands. Yes, sir.
I think if we try to justify what we did
Yes, good.
when we claim to be making amends,
Yeah.
that's a good sign that we don't have the right attitude. We need to be thankful that maybe they're giving us an opportunity to make amends and really show by our actions that that's what we're doing. We're not trying to justify our past actions. And even though that may be hard to do, if we keep in mind that God is the final judge, that's helpful, because it really doesn't matter what happens between the people, us and the people that we're trying to make amends with. They may accept it, they may not, but God is looking on, and if we have the right heart attitude when we're approaching them, then He will vindicate us in the end.
But that is really a challenge. And if you're new in this process of recovery and transformation, that's a hard thing to grab a hold of. And so sometimes we have to do it messy and wrong to figure out how to work closer to making it better. How about that word? Does that make sense? And so it's still a process. And, you know, scripture we're going to read, I think we're going to read that Jesus didn't try to vindicate Himself. You know, He was judged unfairly, treated unfairly, and punished unfairly, but He didn't try to vindicate Himself. And that's a difficult pattern to try to follow, but it's still our pattern here of the servant's heart. Yes, sir.
And right before Robert had said that, what came to my mind was, yeah, but, which is, I think, clearly we're not listening, you know, or we're trying to place our judgment over God's, you know. But so I think I would prefer to not have any yeah buts.
Congratulations. Yes, and that's what we're here to try to do, is help us to stir up that ability to think in a more creative and maybe critical way, to analyze what's been running our lives. You know, they say that 95% of our decisions are made by our unconscious. That means that we've already pre-programmed it to function for us. But if the programming is bad, then where are we heading in our life? Yes. So anyway, and that's what we're trying to do. I'm not trying to make anything happen here, you know. And what we're talking about, what I'm sharing, that doesn't mean that I have it all down. Okay, you know, every time we go through this step, every year I learn more and more stuff. And today while I was studying, I was chasing down words, and I thought, how come I never seen that before? You know what? You know, and so anyway, it's truth unfolds to us as we are curious and we're interested in seeking that truth. And I want to be a truth seeker. So anyway, I don't want to get carried away, because Linda, my wife, told me to be quick tonight, so.
Okay, we're done.
So, is there,
And in my opinion, of course, Linda's always correct.
yeah, ever since, for 50 over, probably getting close to 55, 56, 57 years, she's,
That's amazing.
we started dating in high school, and so she chased me until I tripped, so. So anyway, that's gonna get me in trouble.
No, I was gonna say, I thought you were speaking the truth until that last thing.
Well, most of it was the truth.
No.
And it kind of was all the truth. All right, hey, next week, let me just go ahead and touch on this, September the 13th. It is covering the past, is that right?
Yeah.
Covering the past. Ezekiel 33, 10 through 16. Tommy's going to be covering that in the step presentation, and Robert will be doing the reflections and questions. All right. So that'll be going on next week, and then the following week after that will be the September the 20th that we already talked about with the festival over in Baxter. So, all right. So who's reading the steps? Come on down. Does anybody have any clean time that we need? Come on down, Tommy. Any clean time that we need to celebrate tonight? Okay, all right. Tommy.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Tommy.
Hey, Earth. Step 1. We admitted that we were powerless over our problems and that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3. We made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. Step 4. We made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5. We admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. 7. We humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. 8. We made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9, which we're on this month, we made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. We continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry it out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And step 9 that we're on this month, we made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Appreciate it, Tommy.
Welcome.
Willie. Here's Willie.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Wonderful, thank you.
I'm done. No. He said we had to be hurried, so.
I just said that Linda wanted us to hurry.
Well, I don't want her on me either.
Yeah, well,
A servant's heart, 1 Peter 2, 18 through 25. We made a direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. At this point in recovery, most of us have experienced some major changes in our attitude.
do you agree or disagree with that
Yes,
statement?
I do.
Yes, you do what?
Agree with that.
Okay, why?
Because it happens. If you're into it, it really happens.
What does that
I
mean?
can see the change in my attitude,
Okay, change in your attitude.
mine, from several years ago. If you really want to better yourself and you're doing the work, then yes, the change is gonna be inevitable. You're gonna see it, people are gonna see it, and your attitude's gonna be more clear from it.
So it's, you said it's a lot of work, but is it in your best interest to?
It is very beneficial, yes.
Very
It is in your
beneficial.
It is
Okay.
in your best interest.
All right. Do you have an illustration that you want to share? You don't have to,
You talking about the judgment?
I don't know, I'm not talking about anything, I'm just,
Several years, yeah, I'll tell it.
okay,
Several years ago, one of my kinfolk had gotten a parking ticket, small ticket. It was like a $20, $25 fine. They sent that to me because of the name deal. And so I showed up for court for it. The judge, I told him, hey, this ain't me. Well, come to find out, the judge said all the paperwork says it's you and this and that. And I said, well, it's not me. Well, after about 15 minutes of back and forth, the judge kind of getting a little upset, and me, I was getting upset. And the judge said, well, one of us here is lying. Next words out of my mouth was, I do not believe it's me. The next words out of the judge's mouth was, what'd you say? Next words out of my mouth was a few choice words that shouldn't have been said, but I told him, I guess I'm calling you a bleeping liar. I wound up getting 5 days contempt of court for that. So,
Contempt.
contempt, yeah, he locked me up for 5 days and then gave me like a $900 fine after that, and I think 51 hours community service. At the time, I felt it was worth it, but you know, all the amends I had to make of it, of my own doing, cost me quite a bit, you know. So, but yeah, that was my attitude back then.
So did you ever find out who really it was?
Yeah, it was my nephew. See, his name is Billy. My name is William. So, and we all grew up in, everybody lives in the same area on my dad's place out there. Well, when they sent it to the address that wasn't his address. So I went up and I told him, you know, like that, so. But anyway,
so you just said it wasn't, but you didn't offer any explanation because you didn't want to say it was your nephew.
you're right. I don't give information freely back then.
Yeah, so,
Did you?
so you,
Ever?
I mean, I didn't know of the full story. I mean, it's,
Uh,
I mean,
no, I wound up paying the fine ticket in the rest of the fine that the judge gave me there and all, and it was dismissed after that.
so the point of the story is what?
Keep your mouth shut.
No, that's not the point of the
The
story.
point of the story is my attitude back then was a poor. I really didn't care back then. I would rather tell you to leave me alone, and if you didn't, I would try to force you to leave me alone. It didn't matter to me either way. You know, and it's just
Okay, so the point of the story is?
point of the story.
What's not,
What's your
our
control
story is
your
good, but we gotta make sure we clarify the point.
Check your attitude at the door. That's
Okay.
you know.
And so, you know, when you, I think when Robert said something about contempt, so actually you were showing contempt for the judge, right? Is that,
Right.
and that isn't, of course, attitude.
Attitude.
And so that was being disrespectful or not having proper respect
Right.
for him. And we're talking about servant's heart. And so, how does that line up with servant's heart?
I don't, but that tells you Where-
That's my point.
that's where I have come from to now.
Okay, and that's the reason why we wanted to make sure we got
Right.
the point.
Right.
And so how about if we do this? Since you decided to tell
Yeah.
a story, how about if we go into a hypothetical?
Hypothetical. Let's do it. Sounds good.
So the same scenario of you get taken, having this ticket, sent to you that wasn't yours, and you went to court because you're legally obligated to do
Right.
that, right? And so if you were in court, same scenario, now.
What would I do now?
Yeah.
I would tell the judge that, hey, this ain't me. I know who it is, and I will see that the fine gets paid. Because I would do that for my nephew. And,
What if the judge says, well, I believe it is you?
well, then we would have to agree to disagree. Because,
Well, one of us is lying.
But talk about poking him in-
He's poking the bear here, but it's interesting.
do it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But I
Wait a minute. He's poking the bear.
oh, I'm sorry.
So the same scenario, he's the judge, he says one of us is lying. Now, we're in today's time zone.
well, I can prove it that it ain't me lying. Because I can show you the nephew, I can prove to them, but I wasn't gonna, like I said back then.
Now, that shouldn't be overly offensive, I don't think, right? And that isn't. So I think with your help, this is rather.
Okay, I'll accept that.
And
Can you dismiss the charges?
As long as you pay the fine.
And if I may, a judge, in my opinion, should always have, and in fact, I would say judges always have an open mind and realize there can be more to the story than what they know at that moment.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound patronizing, but I liked your response a moment ago. Because
The first one or the second one?
oh, the second one, because
Okay, all right.
because he didn't.
Right.
He
And in
just spoke
fact-
of himself.
In fact, since they did get the wrong, you're a lawyer, you know that if they file it incorrectly, it's their problem, not his problem. And so he should just drop it. The judge should. He may not, but, right?
And so their but, or what did I say a moment ago? Yeah, but so it's that kind of transitional way of delivery that I think is significant. And I hope that I have that same change that you have illustrated in your story and in your response.
You want to say thank you?
Thank you.
Oh, you didn't, but I'm genuine. I genuinely.
No.
It is hard work, but it pays off tremendously.
Yeah, and so I.
And if
I
you keep
really
up, someday you'll get there. And I hope to see you there.
Yeah, and
I really do.
I appreciate that so much. So yes.
I just hope I'll get there.
I'm not commenting on that.
But put on the spot right there.
If you're-
I mean, he delivered.
Yeah, it's great. Hey, and I actually didn't have, I have down here later, I have a question about, do you have a story behind that? But for some reason it popped in on
I
this one.
got all kinds of stories. Trust me, I'm good with them.
Okay.
When I go all in, I'm all in. Whether it's right or wrong, I'll take it all the way. So,
But
luckily,
you've had a transformation.
luckily here lately, it's all been for the better.
Okay, good.
And thank you.
I haven't been in trouble and with the law in 7, 8 years now.
Well,
Well, not of my doing. Let's go that way. Yeah, you know more.
Whoa.
I said I haven't been in trouble with them. I didn't say I ain't had contact with them. There's a difference.
let's go on.
Okay, that sounds good, because we're gonna get into some stuff that people don't need to know about me at this time. All the time we were in hold on. At one time, we were so consumed with our addiction that we thought of only of ourselves. Failing to show any consideration for others.
Okay, my question here is, do you agree or disagree with that statement? And I don't know that we have a coherent grasp of the statement.
Let's reread it then.
Okay,
At one time, we were so consumed by our addiction that we thought only of ourselves, failing to show any consideration for others.
so do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
Why?
Well, if you're wrapped up in yourself, you're too busy to be wrapped up in anything else, and you think that you're the only thing that matters. You don't care what other people think. You don't care what they say. You just block it all out like a horse with blinders on. You only see where you're going for yourself. And you don't.
Why would a person, I mean, we're talking about here, consumed by your addictions, but so,
Addictions control you. They
Yes.
control what you do. And
okay.
if that's what you're wanting, you're going to do anything you can to get that.
Mhm.
And then you're only thinking of yourself to get what you want.
So is that what they call tunnel vision?
Tunnel vision, yeah, that'd be a good word for it.
And so that's kind of what you described a while ago when you're telling the story.
Yes. Because it was all about me there. I didn't care what he had to say. I didn't want to be there. I had to be there. So I was already, I didn't care. And
You were already angry.
right, and then he wants to keep going with, well, I believe this, believe that. Well, I believe what you want, I believe what I want, Next thing, he had a bigger hammer.
Boy, they all do.
They wouldn't let me take my hammer in.
No, I know, it's up there sometimes.
I can laugh about it now.
But that's the truth,
I think it's great. I mean, for me to understand this, I think your story really helped me.
Well, this all mount in at the.
Well, that's great. So let's go for anybody else all right? Now, you're gonna have to face Linda, that's all I got to tell you. So go ahead.
I'm sorry, Linda, it's the truth, though. That fits in with this step.
Yeah. And you picked it, right?
No, Lori picked it.
Oh.
So,
Uh-oh.
if anybody's in trouble, it's Lori.
Yeah, but
Where did I leave off? What's one time?
Yeah, but it's live in the desert, not
In this step focuses on the interest and needs of others.
Any thoughts on that sentence about this step?
Well, yeah, it's part of the recovery process, and this is strictly of, hey, you gotta make what's right and put their feelings in front of yours.
And that's an interesting statement you made there. It's part of the recovery process. Now, do you know what you're saying there?
Yeah, you gotta put your feelings has to be put aside to make right what you did wrong so that you can progress.
And what does that mean, put aside?
It doesn't matter. Okay, I gotta choose my right words here. My feelings have to be humble for me to grow, but I've got to make my amends to them to where, okay, hey, I am truly sorry for what I done. And words don't say it enough, but my actions behind what I'm saying will show them. And then it's up to them what they do with it.
I mean, you said the right thing, but I just wanted to kind of stir that up and.
I'm passionate about this. I really am now.
I'm glad. Go and so now we're at Scripture.
Yeah, Apostle Paul taught in Philippians 2, 3, and 4. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourself. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take the interests of others too.
Okay, so this is Apostle Paul speaking here. And I have circled here that one statement there about thinking of others as better than yourself. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, if I'm putting myself aside to do what's right so that I can be better, then that person that I am making my amends to needs to know that, hey, I am truly sorry. You are better than what I put you out to be.
Okay.
That's what I got out of it.
So it's an attitude shift,
Yes,
right?
it is.
And that instead of treating someone with disrespect or contempt, like we was talking about with the judge, for instance, now we treat them with respect and honor. And I have down here that same two scriptures out of the Amplified Bible. And I just want to read a portion of it. I think I'll try to do the whole thing. And that is, do nothing for selfishness or empty conceit through fractional motives. As fractional motives means it would be some hidden motives, in there, trying, I'm trying to remember exactly what the definition of fractional is, but I can't pull it up right now, but basically it's hidden motives and that you're trying to actually to deceive someone, okay, or strive, but with an attitude of humility. Now this next statement goes right to that sentence I highlighted a moment ago, being neither arrogant nor self-righteous. Yes.
What was that word you used? Tractional or contractual?
It was factional.
Factional. Oh, okay.
Factional, or is there an R in that?
No.
Okay.
F-A-C-T-I-O-N-A-L.
Factional.
Factional.
Okay.
It was,
I was going to say that it could, what comes to my mind is if we go to make amends with an attitude, we just want them to accept what we're saying because we have an ulterior motive. We're going to ask them again for something, and we want them to say yes.
Which would be what? The forgiveness or maybe?
No, we're saying, I'm really sorry for what I did, and this is what I'm doing to prove it. But then, either at that moment or most likely not long after, we're gonna say, hey, by the way, do you think possibly I could borrow your lawnmower or something like that?
yes, that's trying to control the situation or gaining something like
Right.
we talked about earlier. And the next word is regard, and that is, being neither arrogant or self-righteous, regard others as more important than ourselves, and that regard is valuing them, respecting them. And so that, that's where this scripture is talking about here. And that all goes to our heart, our attitude, our humility, how a servant is someone that is serving. And if you're not serving it with the right attitude, then are you really then a servant, right? And have you ever got a server in a restaurant that didn't want to be there, okay? And they just treated you with contempt, okay? And it's, we've all had some of that, right? And so, and you can give it right back, but the fact of it is, it's not gonna work out well, right? And so,
Never does.
never does. And so, and I wanted to slip in something I studied. It was back in the 70s, and I was teaching at a youth camp. And I had studied, and I don't even remember the topic, but I remember studying about bondservant. And the bondservant back in Bible days, as I recall, was a servant that was actually a slave, but then they have made a choice to actually, because they loved and cared for their master, and they made a choice to stay a servant, and so they became a bond servant. And that one of the ways that they showed that they were a bond servant, and this is the illustration, that they would put them up against the porch, and they drive a sharp object through their ear and put a earring in their ear to identify them as a bond servant. And that was their choice, that they wanted to do that because of their love. And that came to my mind while we were talking here about servant's heart. And so anyway, that I thought I would slip that in there. I haven't verified those facts in 50 years, but it made an impression on me. So anyway, I'm ready to go.
Okay. Whether we make amends directly to others or choose not to because of the injury it would cause, we should be concerned with protecting others from pain and suffering.
We should be concerned about protecting others.
Yes.
And, so we're talking about make that shift that you pointed out so very clearly, that we're trying to move from me-centered to other-centered, right? And that's the servant's heart that we're talking about. I know I keep I want to keep the point, in front of us so we know what we're talking about. Okay, go ahead.
There may be situations in which we will suffer if we go back to make amends.
Wait a minute. Read that sentence again.
There may be situations in which we will suffer if we go back and make amends.
So, my question down here is, any thoughts on that?
Well, if we are truly without any no prior gain for ourselves, we will suffer because we will know what we did to them, and the pain is gonna, when we go to make that amends, we're gonna feel that hurt, that hopefully, we may feel the hurt that they felt when we did it to them.
That's a good point. So this is where I've got on there, do you have a story to relate in that situation? You don't have to, but that was...
No, I'm not ready to tell that one.
So you do have a story?
Yeah, my son's situation,
okay.
but I'm
We
not
don't want to
ready
tell
to
that
go on that one yet.
Yeah, all right. Go ahead.
This part of the work of recovery and potential pain should not deter us.
So what do you think about that?
We shouldn't let nothing stop us from the path that we're on. It was never guaranteed that the path's gonna be easy. There's no guarantee that we ain't gonna have more difficulties along the way. But nothing should be able to stop us if we're seeking the truth and we're after God.
So this statement they just made here, is that a true statement?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Nothing should deter us.
Not even pain.
No,
Why?
because God's got the pain. God's got our back through this whole thing. And we're pushing towards Him. If we're meanful to it, we're going to do it. He is going to show
But
that-
instinctively, our survival mechanism is to avoid pain. Now you're telling us to push into pain. What's up with that?
well, you got to get through the pain to get to the glory.
All right. Or that change.
The change or
That
the
change or that transformation.
reality.
Yeah, okay. I just kind of wanted to flush that out a little bit.
Yeah, we're good.
Any comments from anybody? Questions? Yes, sir.
And I think the pain that I would be experiencing going through that change reminds me, reinforces how I should behave better in the future so that I don't not only hurt myself, but perhaps more importantly, hurt others.
Right. That's a great statement. It's a great statement.
Good.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Apostle Paul wrote in 1 Peter 2:20-23. Lost my place on it. If you suffer for doing good and endure it patiently,
So, read that again.
if you suffer for doing good and endure it patiently,
What do you think that means?
keep a positive attitude as the pain comes along.
Well, he says, if you suffer for doing good.
Well,
I think it's closer to when we suffer for doing good.
When,
Because
okay.
it pretty much happens, right?
right.
All right, so and this is out of the scripture, okay? So, and if we go ahead and recognize, yeah, this is one of those times, I'm doing good, but I'm suffering, right? Particularly when we're in recovery and we're really working, we're really trying, but everybody sees us the way we were, not the way we are. And that's suffering, isn't it? But he says here that we need to endure with patience, right? If we're enduring with patience, what's the next 5 words?
God is pleased with you.
That's pretty powerful.
Yes, it is.
Go ahead.
Christ suffered for you. He is your example, and you must follow in his steps. He never sinned, nor ever deceived anyone. He did not retaliate when he was insulted, nor threaten revenge when he suffered.
Well, let's talk about that since that's a stiff.
That's remarkable. But it
So,
shows it can be done.
Let's take it a step at a time. So he
Okay.
never sinned. How about that? He
Right.
never sinned. We can agree with that, right?
Right.
We accept that. We don't know how he did that, but we'll accept that.
Right.
Okay. Now that didn't mean that he didn't have to grow and mature. In Hebrews it said that he endured through. Gosh, I lost it. Anyway, that he suffered. He learned obedience by the things he suffered. There we go. It's all in there. Sometimes it doesn't want to come out, but he learned obedience by the things he suffered. So he had to learn something. Okay, so he grew, and sometimes we don't think that Jesus had to grow, but he grew. So if you're growing, that means you're potentially would make some missteps, but missteps or mistakes is not sin. They're just things that you got to learn from, right? So he never sinned, nor or deceived anyone, okay? Well, we'd expect that from Jesus. How are we doing that, right? And so we'll go on. And he didn't retaliate, okay? Retaliate. He didn't retaliate. In fact, when Peter retaliated against a servant, cut his ear off there in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus put the ear
He
back on.
fixed it.
You know, that's pretty big. You know, you think about that. That kind of gives me, that gave me some chills right then. Wouldn't that be great to have that kind of servant's heart? I mean, he knew where this thing was going. He just went through that fight in the garden there, and he sweat blood drops. So even when he was insulted, and he nor threatened revenge, he even hanging on the cross, he said, "I could have called 10,000 angels, but that's not where we're at." Okay. So he suffered and he died for us. Now we're down to lessons.
He left his case in the hands of God, who always judges fairly.
Now he struggled over that in the garden, right? And I'm not going to go all the way through all that. We've talked about it before, but it was a struggle, okay? And thank God that God will come and be with us in our struggle, just as He was with Jesus in His struggle. Let this cup pass from me. Is there a plan B here? Can it be done a different way? But not my will, but your will. And he left his case in God's hands. And there's been some times I didn't know how it was going to go. I think you were there that night that I was summoned to court over a situation, and I was sitting there, and one of the guys that was working with me was starting to get a little vocal, and I tried to calm him down. Were you there
Yes,
that night?
I was there.
And I didn't, because things weren't going the right way, in my perspective. And I said, God, we need your help. And then all of a sudden, the judge asked a question about the information, which I think is kind of unusual. And he come to find out I don't know that I want to go into this too much, but anyway, what God has brought us there to court was not correct. And I saw it change right in front of my eyes, and I was just trying to keep things calm. And I think maybe trying to keep things calm allowed maybe that to kind of bubble to the surface. I've always thought of it as being like kind of almost like a miracle, because it would have been bad if it would have went the other way, even though it was not correct, and even the judge said it wasn't correct. And he gave him they gave him a chance to try to redo it, but they never did, so it got totally thrown out. Maybe that's more information than we need. But my point was, even in situations that it looks totally hopeless at the moment, because we've all been in hopeless situations, right? You've been real quiet tonight, Tommy. So back to, do we want to go ahead and read 1 Peter,
Yes.
okay? They have given us 1 Peter 2:18 through 25, but they've only had us read right now between verse 20 and 23. So he's gonna read it out of the Bible. And are you reading out of
NIV,
okay, so it's gonna,
NLT,
okay, all
the
right,
Life Recovery Bible.
okay, good. Go ahead and read it.
Starting out at Peter 2, 18 through 25. You who are slaves must submit to your master with all respect. Do what they tell you, and not only if they are kind and reasonable, but even if they are cruel. For God is pleased when
Consciously,
conscious
will.
of his will and patiently endures unjust treatment. Of course, you
Okay,
get
now,
no,
that's not where we were at. Those are scriptures that we hadn't read there before.
Right.
But, it says, you who are slaves must submit to your masters with all respect, right? And that's, now, of course, there was people there were slaves, but, what about addictions, obsessions, compulsions, drives? That puts you in a
you're
form
slaves to them.
of bondage or slaves. And of course, we need to recognize that we're in that state. And of course, now we say, well, then am I supposed to be, so am I supposed to submit to my addiction? No, that's not what I'm talking about, right? The master is not your addiction. The real master is God. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes.
And so you've had someone come between you and God and has separated you from God in the sense of you're not having that connection. Now God is still working everything He can do to connect with you, but you have found barriers to put between yourself and God. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when we now this is not in here, but I believe this to be true. When we recognize that we are enslaved in our addictions, if we will speak truthfully to God, because God can deal with us when we're in truth. But if we're denying and lying, running and deceiving, it's hard for God to work with us because we're trying to block Him instead of being open to Him. What do you think? And Willie and I was talking about these scriptures, and I thought, I'm just thinking that we needed to kind of go over these that we haven't said there. And so, any thoughts or questions so far? Am I talking too much? Go ahead, Willie.
Of course,
We're at verse 20.
or verse 20, yeah. Of course, you get no credit for being patient when you are beaten for wrongdoing.
Now, what is that?
You get no credit for being beaten, for being patient. Sorry, my bad.
It's all right.
For being
You
patient.
said it right the first time.
Oh,
but
did I?
Yes. I just wanted to make sure that we, got clarification.
Right.
So, read that sentence, that portion again.
Of course, you get no credit for being patient when you are beaten for wrongdoing.
So what does that mean?
It means they're not gonna apologize because you didn't do nothing wrong. They're not gonna be apologize because they blamed you for it. Am I right? No.
No. Of course, you won't get any credit. And who we're talking about, he's talking about, we're talking about before that God would be pleased. I think, or maybe that's after. But if you're doing wrong stuff, you're going to be punished for it. And even if you're patient, okay, even if you go along with it, you don't get any credit for it, okay, because you've done stuff that's wrong.
Right.
And that's what he's trying to say. If you've done stuff wrong, you've done stuff wrong, and just because you go ahead and you're being patient in that, you're going to go ahead and serve your time, so to speak, for telling the judge he's a liar,
Right.
just because you served your time, that's not any real credit to you. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you learn something out of it and you make some adjustments, then you get there's some transformation,
Okay.
or maybe we could say credit if we're using that word. God says, that's a good job.
Okay. I see now.
Comments from anybody? Well, we're in 1 Peter chapter 2, and we're at verse 20, and we're in the middle of verse 20. Go ahead.
But if you suffer for doing good and endure it patiently, God is pleased with you.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that was in there somewhere. So now we're saying if you get mistreated and you didn't do anything wrong, you were, and you're going ahead and you go ahead and endure it with patience, then that means you have a good attitude, and that is credited to you. Right?
Right.
Is that what it's saying? Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Now, that's not so easy.
Not at all.
I had a situation many years ago where, trying to figure out how to say this, I was being mistreated and treated unfairly, and I had people in the church that wanted to defend me. And I told them to stay out of it. Because, I didn't tell them but I knew that they'd get hurt. And I didn't want them hurt. And besides that, it would have felt good for them defending me, but it wouldn't have helped anyway. There was only one person that could help, and that was God. And I didn't think about this till just now. I put my case in his hands, okay? But I didn't want them hurt, even though it would have been a nice gesture. But it would have been a bad situation for them. And so, I don't know, that was just an experience. I thought I'd throw that out there, so. Go ahead.
For God called you to do good, even if it means suffering. Just as Christ suffered for you, He is your example, and you must follow in His steps.
So then do you think there may be some situations that come up in our life that we will suffer, and it's not because we did anything wrong?
Yes.
The likelihood of that,
100%.
okay? So then, what I'm doing right here is saying there's a good likelihood, so we need to kind of expect it to some degree so it don't take us
We're not shocked when it happens.
come in our blind side and realize that maybe this is part of our spiritual process to grow. It's hard to think that way in the middle of it. I didn't think that way in the middle of it. I just didn't want those church members to get hurt. I wanted them to stay out of the fight. Okay? You know, I asked God what to do, and because I'd rather fight or leave. That was I gave him two options. I said, God, I'll fight, I'll leave. I can do either one. I'd prefer to fight. But that's not what he told me to do. Either one.
What did he tell you?
The scripture came to my mind. It says, stand and stand therefore.
It says stand and.
Stand and stand therefore. And so I stood. I turned my case over. I didn't know that terminology, but I turned my case over, put it in the hands of God. And I would have preferred to fight because I was in the right, but it wouldn't have turned out. It just made me look bad. Okay? And the other fellow tried to get me to fight, and I mean not necessarily physical, but you know, react in such a way to do things. And so, and it was I didn't like the whole situation, but I tell you what, I learned a lot in that situation. And I wouldn't want anybody else to go through that, but I wouldn't necessarily want to go through it again, but I wouldn't give back what I learned. So, go ahead, Willie.
He never sinned, nor ever deceived anyone. He did not retaliate when he was insulted, nor threatened revenge when he was suffered. Nor threatened revenge when he suffered. He left his case in the hands of God, who always judges fairly. He personally carried our sins in his body on the cross so that we can be dead to sin and live for what is right. By his wounds we are healed. Once you were like sheep who wandered away, but now you have turned to the shepherd, the guardian of your soul.
What do you think?
It's the truth. That's the only way to look at it, as far as I'm concerned. But, you know,
Any thoughts from anybody?
That can be, it's very challenging to do that, but I think it's equally rewarding.
Any thoughts, Tommy?
I was thinking about how when going through the stuff, it doesn't seem that you could make it through, you know? And we just somehow do.
And how many times has that happened to us?
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. Thank God for that. Thank God for his grace. It's good. Anything else, Tommy?
No, it's all.
Anybody else have anything? Lori?
Will,
Will?
the guy's hand up back there.
Willie says you have your hand up.
That when I get accused of something that I didn't really do or I know I'm right, either way, you know, I've been through that once or twice in my life, but there's been more times I was wrong and I deserved it and I didn't get punished. But here lately, once I started this other job, he says new, he's been doing it for a minute now, but once I started this other job, it was like I got to look for my other job that when others come around, I don't want to say I didn't have the acceptance for them to make a mistake like I wanted my boss to have the acceptance for me to make a mistake here, but that's really what it was. And I read in the Bible where it says if you keep your mouth shut, you look smarter. So I try to keep my mouth shut as much as I can, especially when it comes to something I don't really know. And I've humbled myself a lot at this new job because they're not where I'm at. And it's okay, because God sets us in places like that all the time.
Right.
But what difference am I showing them about my walk with Christ if I act the same way as everybody else does? And when you said I wanted to fight, I wanted to argue, I wanted to prove my point right, well, who in the world doesn't want to prove their right from the right?
Right.
It's when I can humble myself enough to allow them to say what they want. And then they can come to their own agreement as they see my walk, that they can see there's something different about me. And I think they're starting to see that now. I mean, I'm not gonna pat myself on the back because I'm on right up here. But I can see the growth in me from the way I react to others, not just what I say. Because, you know, anybody can say anything, but Robert's right, it is not easy to keep that self-control, I think you could call that. But when I do, and I go home and don't fight myself now more than I am then, but they'll never know that, about how I should have reacted, because I really, really like the idea of letting somebody know I'm right. That I want myself to where, I mean, because, I don't know, I've just been dealing with that a lot. When you said that, it really resonated with me very well. But I think it's the idea that I didn't react the way they wanted me to react, which is allowing them to see the separation from me, from the rest of the world. Not just who I used to be, because who I used to be, they'll never know. But they can see the difference between the way I react and the way everyone else has, because, you know, and sometimes I think he does it on purpose. I really do. He says something he knows he's wrong just to see, try to get under my skin. And I mean, I can't say it don't work, but it don't work until you're home, and he'll never do it.
And that is a old tool. You know, they even used it on Jesus. You know, they tried to push his buttons to make him angry, and if they can get you angry, then they are able to manipulate you. And so the trouble is, because they weren't able to push Jesus' buttons, Jesus became a very dangerous man, because then they couldn't control him.
When I get angry, I think less intelligently.
It shuts down your brain, your
Yeah,
cognitive ability to think.
For me, it shuts down a lot, you know, so there's times I have to make sure that I don't get that way, because I know that I'm just gonna look stupid, you know, or say,
Or more stupid.
I beg your pardon.
According to what you were saying earlier. Okay, hey, thank you, Will.
Yes.
Laura, you have any comments you want to add to the story or stories? No? Okay. And you picked this out, right? Oh, you're saving them up because you're going to talk here in a minute. So, Will, let's wind this up. And I've got down here, why did you pick this topic? So we already found out that you didn't pick this topic.
No, this one was not my pick. I let someone else pick it for me because they wanted to do these questions.
Okay.
So,
Good deal. All right. So what'd you learn from this tonight?
I learned that patience and a positive attitude can get you a lot further than just spatting off at the mouth. And it's more beneficial to just be more patient and figure out when you're correcting your wrongs, a civil mind and a humble heart goes further than just saying, hey, I'm sorry.
Good, good. Thank you, appreciate it.
What about the takeaway?
What's your takeaway?
Not to do it anymore, not to go back to the way it was, to
Okay.
keep on pressing forward.
All right, good deal.
Wow, well, he asked for a takeaway, that's good. Yeah. That shows how, well,
Okay, and
I sent a struggle for years.
in my defense,
In your defense,
at first glance, these seemed like the least intimidating questions for the month.
okay.
And he's like, hurry, we needed to narrow it down because Doug needs to know. So I'm just flipping through real quick and I'm like, these seem easy enough.
Okay, so that answers that question.
That answers that question.
You just throw me under the bus.
No,
No.
kinda, no,
No.
maybe, yeah.
No, never.
Did.
Never would I ever do anything like that. Never. So I'm up here to read the 12 steps, right?
You can.
that sounds convincing.
You may when we get to question 4, maybe. So, I don't, we'll see what you do.
What am I afraid will happen when I attempt to make amends? Well, worst case scenario would be rejection for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have made amends and it turned out wonderfully.
Good.
So that.
But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what,
This, yeah,
because a lot of people are afraid of
yeah,
making amends.
yeah, I mean,
And rejection is pretty big stuff, right?
yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's the reason why normally we get mad to start off with and to cause separation, so we
Yeah.
don't, and we separate ourselves so we're not rejected.
right.
How's that work out for us?
Well, not well, obviously, but I mean, when you've gone to battle with the devil, and you fought him face to face, what else is there to be scared of?
That's true.
I mean, at
Other
least-
than rejection.
right, I mean, this is my perspective here. You wanna get up here and answer these questions, Doug?
We're working through.
But I mean, my perspective, rejection's a whole lot worse than that. For me. Cause I've hurt these people. I'm going to them raw, seeking their forgiveness. If I'm going to them, I feel safe going to them. Cause obviously I'm not gonna go to them if I feel like I'm gonna be in danger. So the worst thing for me that could happen is rejection.
Okay.
Add to that, please.
Do I?
Feel free to add to
No,
that.
we're done. We're good.
Okay. Anybody else?
We want to make you're the one that's doing the questions.
I didn't get my cheat sheet this week.
I sent it.
Okay.
I'll double check.
Okay.
Sorry. In fact, I meant to even ask you if you got it. But,
I checked. I'll check again.
okay.
Do I fear that painful consequences will cause me suffering if I make amends? No, I don't.
Anybody,
I mean,
this if you were
What's the question?
but my amends are different than the typical amends
Okay.
because of my situation.
Tommy, I want you to read the question, the statement again or question.
Do I fear that painful consequences will cause me suffering if I make amends?
Well, yeah, because some people I have to make amends to, I kind of fear what could happen on their end, because I don't know where everybody's at.
That's fair. But for my situation, I I do not, for me.
Garth had his hand up.
Garth,
I have that fear, but I think I try, for me, if I go into it without trying to get something from them that helps my fear. In other words, if my objective is to go in and humbly state my amends and through action show it, then, of course, I don't want to be rejected, but that
Right.
helps me
yeah.
lower the fear.
Yeah. For me, my fears are all gonna be emotionally centered. Does that make sense?
Well, that's what suffering really is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's physical suffering, but most suffering is emotional.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question on this, number 2?
Can he ask a
It's to
question?
you, it's to you.
He
Me?
can ask you. He's off limits from asking
Cause
me.
this is another way.
He's been on a roll the past
good
couple of days. He put too much pepper in his food
When
recently.
it asks, do I fear painful consequences will cause me to suffer? If you don't have that fear, are you really trying to make amends though?
You make a good point.
I like that.
You know, being honest and open to that, you make a really good point. Because it's intense.
Right.
It's important, and it's, you're doing it to produce growth. And so if there's no gain or loss in this situation, emotionally speaking, so to speak, or spiritually speaking either, then, it's
You got nothing to gain.
yeah, there's not much significance in it, so that's a really good point. That's a great point. But most of this, because if you don't recognize the pain that you have inflicted on others, and you're disconnected from that, or you don't care, then
You're not really making.
you're not really invested.
Right.
So, good, Willie.
That's all I had.
That's a great question.
That was the, another fear I have is failing to adequately or properly express what I feel. So it requires, so what I try to do to lower that is practice what it is that I'm trying to communicate and find the best, the most effective way to communicate it.
And that's really good, and that's what I think I hit this earlier, that, we're in a process, we have hidden so much stuff and turned off our emotions in so many areas, right? We've tuned out and blocked, denied, and created fantasies, alternative realities, how about that, to live in and to escape those emotional pain or the reality that I have caused pain for others. So when we're tuning in and getting closer, the reality is, just like in our spiritual growth, we kind of take, the Holy Spirit doesn't do it all at once. He does a layer at a time, and they're micro thin, okay? But he keeps working on it, because we can't handle the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But he wants to help us go through that process, and so, this is a growth process, and that's the reason why we have to be very careful, according to step 8, that we don't injure others, okay, in the process.
And the second part, number 2, if so, what is the worst that could happen? Well, the worst that could ever happen, in my opinion, is rejection. But then emotional growth and just growth in itself, and growth is painful at the start. But then it turns out good.
So let's run that scenario. So the worst that can happen is a person that you've hurt in some way rejects you because they're not ready.
Mhm.
So the worst that can happen is for them to reject us,
Mhm.
and which could be the beginning of an ongoing process.
Mhm. Where you learn from that.
Learn from that.
And you step back and you reevaluate and you keep moving forward and you keep learning and you keep growing and learning.
And maybe come back at another time. Maybe.
Maybe. Or you just give it to God, like you said, and if that time presents itself again in the future, you see what happens.
Yes. Good. Question number 3.
Do I trust God's will for me
Wait a
if
minute. I circled that right there. I think it's a great lead into the question.
Okay.
Do I trust God's will for me?
Yes.
That sounds like a non-question, really. I mean, sure. Sure?
I'm sure.
Sure?
I'm sure. God gave me a will.
Yeah.
When I wanted nothing to do with the will. The will or God's will.
I just caught that.
Yeah, we laughed about this question earlier. Or at least I did. I find it quite funny. Do I trust God's will for me? Absolutely. Everything I've been through, everything I've seen, everything I've experienced, all my heartache, all my heartbreak, all my growth, I'd be an absolute fool not to trust God 100%.
Okay, well, everything you've talked about has been past tense.
And everything I'm still,
Okay, but
I
do we trust God for our future tense?
absolutely, I
Okay,
trust
well,
God.
we don't know anything about it yet.
No, but I know God.
Yeah.
And I know where my life ended up when I decided not to trust God.
Yeah.
And it was ugly because I made the conscious decision to not trust God and to not look at God and to trust me, and it got ugly.
I think this is the question, because Adam and Eve didn't trust God with their future. I mean, I don't even know if they really even realized that or not. But it was like, almost the same thing that Jesus did in the garden. Can there be another way? Let this cup pass from me. But, it took him a couple of 3 hours to go through the process and then finally say, yeah,
There's always another way,
But
but it's not worth it.
right, oh yeah.
I've been the other way.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth it, and I'm not willing to go back that way.
And that isn't that a lesson that we have to learn?
Yeah, and it was a terrible, hard, painful, traumatic lesson.
Anybody
And I'd rather-
Anybody else learn this lesson in the hard way? Yeah, well,
Maybe, yeah.
But my biggest fear, I wanted to say that a while ago, is that when I go to make my amends, that they come back with something I did that was even worse that I never even remember. When you said we lived in our family, that's it right into where I was at. Because God,
Oh, I never thought of that.
I never took enough consciousness to care about how anyone else felt it was all about the deed that was done and not how the feeling was, or what caused the feeling, the reaction, and the So when I went to make my amends, I was reminded of some things that was almost like, it never really happened because I couldn't believe that I would do something like that. And the truth is, it really wasn't me. It was the person I want to say, when I use drugs, I am filtered with the demons. And that's why when you say alcohol is spirit, it's because when you drink alcohol, the spirits come in. When I did drugs, I was so infused with the demonic world that I could see the spirits bounce around. They don't shadow people. I know that spirits. I think I was just so intense with the darkened world that I started to see darkened things. I would do things that there's no way I would do if I wasn't under the influence. But I wouldn't remember because I never contained that thought for long. I didn't know what the next thing.
Yeah, that's good.
Garth,
That's good. Go ahead.
I have text messages that I wrote in 2017 that I found from an old account that to this day I don't recall writing it, why I wrote it, why I said that, but I couldn't believe what I wrote. Yeah, when I look at that, I just can't believe I wrote those texts. I just thought that's interesting.
That's good.
And
You
one
know,
last one is,
we've gone pretty deep here tonight, have you noticed?
and just one last thing, I think I contradicted myself here because I talked about, fear of rejection, but I forgot that it's not about me. It's about being humble.
That's good. That's good.
And so if I'm worried about me and me being rejected, I think I just contradicted myself a few times, so I'm just wondering about it.
And that's our struggle, going through that, and that's the process.
it
So,
doesn't matter if you remember doing it. If they said you did it, might as well just,
What?
you can't remember doing it,
And with the
so.
text messages, no one told me. I read my text message. I just can't believe.
Yeah.
I
If they-
had a phone call. Was it this week? I think it was, and it was from a government person in the government, and they basically threatened me because what they were saying, yes, it hadn't happened what they said that was supposed to happen in a certain amount of time. And I said, well, as far as I know, we fulfilled all the steps, but I will do whatever I need to do to try to make it right, Well, you're running out of time. I said, well, I'll find out, and I went and found out, and I called them back, and they were very sarcastic and some other things, and I said, well, I don't know, we've been, I said, I tried to let her understand that I've been doing this almost 50 years, so I don't think, we'll just, we have to figure this out, and I'll do whatever it takes. I tried to be nice to it, and so, I was, as far as, it doesn't matter what happened. I'm still in the wrong, even if I do everything right, and if I don't fit into their criteria, then it's still wrong. So I can throw a fit, which it would have been easy to do, but I understand. Later on, I figured out they have had a lot of problems with people in this area, so they were upset about everybody, even if I was, you know, they just figured I was wrong because there's been having those problems. Does that make any type of sense? It probably doesn't, but I'm trying to be cryptic.
And it's kinda like walking in their shoes.
Yeah, so,
So you were taking the beating for everybody, basically.
yeah.
You were getting the mass beating for everybody,
And so, anyway, it's worked out now, you know, and we just tried to figure out what we could do, and then we got more information why things happened the way they happened, and it was because of the mail system, you know, some of whatever they did, and we didn't know why they did what they did, but they did what they did, which affected everything else, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
So, you know, but again, it's stuff happens. And either you can fight or you can say, I'll do whatever I need to do to make it right. And I actually said that. I'm not kidding, you know. Whether I made a mistake or somebody else made a mistake, I'll do my best to fix it. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
good point.
Okay, are we ready for number 4?
Yeah.
Let's do number 4.
Which of the 12 steps do I need to focus on before I make these fearsome amends? I kind of combined 5 and 10 and did a Lori mashup version.
All right.
Always be willing and quick to take an honest, brutal inventory of myself. Be honest with myself and God. Always be willing to accept responsibility.
And that's what a servant and a servant's heart would be about. Even if there was a problem, you know, summing up what you're saying and putting all the stuff together, you know, even if it's, you know, and I've said this before, I'm not in control, but I am responsible, you know.
And to sum it up and what I got from it, you always have to keep looking at yourself. You know, like I said not too long ago, I had one major breakthrough, but I can't leave it at that. You have to keep digging deeper, and the layers, that layer got peeled off, which has revealed another layer.
Always.
Always, so it's go back and keep going over. And so just, and then the quick and honest and taking responsibility. I was always driving that into my kids. You gotta take responsibility for your words and deeds and actions. You're gonna get in trouble for what you did, no matter what, but you're gonna get into a whole lot less trouble if you just fess up and tell me the truth the first time.
Good.
You know, so just to, you know, not grow stagnant in the process.
It's good.
To just not grow stagnant in this process and
Or
moving on.
be controlled by fear,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and the few times that I have had the opportunity to make amends, the first time I was nervous and scared a little bit, but God was there, and it ended up being beautiful and amazing and good. And I'm glad, because now I really have no fears about making amends, but I don't really have any scary people I gotta make amends to. Not that I won't have in the future, but at this point, I really don't. So it's, for me, making amends is a good thing, because it's healing. And it's a fresh start. And it's a
Yeah,
welcome.
fresh start. That's good.
And
So what did you learn from this lesson?
what I just said, just not growing, not allowing yourself to grow stagnant.
Good.
Just keep going and doing, and examining yourself, because the more you get into it and the more you dig into it, the more God's gonna show you what you need to be working on.
So what's your takeaway?
I still got work to do.
All of us.
Yeah, still got work
We
to
all
do.
got work to do.
Yeah.
Somebody say something?
I said amen.
Amen.
And it's not as scary as it once was.
That's good. That's good. Anybody have their takeaway or what you learned out of this lesson?
I was thinking, like, there's areas in my life I need to humble myself in so I can face my fear of making amends with certain people.
It's good.
Just gotta bring myself to a more peaceful place with the situation, maybe.
Good. So what's the steps between here and there?
1 through 12.
That's good. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for information. You know, Willie, you told me you did this lesson last year. How does this tonight compare to last year?
A little more understanding, a little more depth into it this year than I was last year.
Reflection was pretty good.
Because the reflection was,
The girl doing the reflection was prettier.
oh, okay.
It's just more understanding and more progressed into the way I need to be,
Okay.
more open to it.
You know, I've had people tell me in years gone by, well, why do we keep doing the same thing over and over? You know, why do we keep doing that?
We're expecting different results.
And that's because we grow and learn and see and develop and God shows us different things, right? In the information and also in ourselves. And plus, we got people that are willing to share different things, right?
Yeah.
So,
And if I read it this year and I see something different I didn't see last year, that would suggest growth.
You get something new out of it every time you read a different part of the Bible or read the same scripture again.
because, hey, Scripture is not just a dead instrument, it's a live instrument. So there's a lot in there, so. Okay, everybody, well, any final comments? May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may His face shine upon you and give you His peace. Make healthy choices, right?